This is the Highly Sensitive Club, episode number 55.
Have you been told you are too sensitive, too dramatic, or too much? Do you have big feelings and deep thoughts you don't always know what to do with? I'm Stephanie Linn, a certified life coach and highly sensitive person. I've helped dozens of highly sensitive clients feel more energized, more confident, and more in control of their high sensitivity. In these episodes, you'll get the information and inspiration to level up your life as a highly sensitive person too. Welcome to the Highly Sensitive Club.
Hello, highly sensitive person, and welcome to this week's episode of the Highly Sensitive Club. I am so excited about this week's episode and next week's episode because it's the 1-year anniversary of the launch of this podcast. Yay! I launched this podcast on January 11th, 2024. That's 111. And since this is 52 weeks since the podcast, I'm going to do a wrap-up episode for this week and next week. This week will be highlights from the first 5 episodes, so you get a summary, the best parts. Next week will be highlights from the top 5 episodes of 2024, and then I will launch brand new content for the rest of 2025. So stay tuned, and I hope you enjoyed this trip down memory lane. These episodes are here to help spark new ideas and insights about you and your life as a highly sensitive person, so you can embrace the trait and use it to level up anything you want to improve. What I'm going to share with you is going to be extremely helpful if you, A, know you're a highly sensitive person, aka an HSP, B, if you had some kind of nudge from the universe to find out more about high sensitivity, or C, if you love a highly sensitive person and want to learn more about the trait. If any of these sound like you, you're in exactly the right place. I'm a highly sensitive person and a certified life coach. I studied highly sensitive people because I love to learn and grow. I read Dr. Elaine Aron's books, starting with The Highly Sensitive Person, which is the go-to manual for HSPs. If you're looking for a book to start with, start there. I listened to podcasts and I read articles about self-development from other highly sensitive people. And after I graduated therapy, my first coach was also a specialist in highly sensitive people. Throughout the years, I started seeing the trait in others. I started to see things like people getting overstimulated by crowds or loud noises, or even just too much busy work, stuff that other people thought was totally fine and normal. Caring about hobbies or fandoms and getting super deep with them, and soaking up other people's emotions and their drama like a sponge, and then carrying it around and not knowing what to do with it. When I shared that those people might be highly sensitive, I could see this light bulb go off. Something would click into place and they'd say, "Oh my gosh, that's me." I walked away from a successful organizing business because I was so passionate about helping highly sensitive people like you go from spinning their wheels like I had been doing for years to balancing their high sensitivity and then to thriving with it. It all came full circle when I was coaching an HSP a couple of years ago, and he was saying that he was picking up his clients' emotions. He had a rule that you show care by feeling other people's feelings with them. Throughout the session, we got to this point where I finally asked him, how is that rule serving you? That you have to feel other people's emotions to show you care. And he realized that it actually doesn't serve him. It makes his job more difficult and less effective to take on all that extra stuff from the clients instead of protecting his own energy. When you're weighed down by other people's emotions, you don't have any energy left to actually support them to grow for themselves. I got to use the same wisdom that I had gotten almost a decade ago to turn around and help another highly sensitive person change his life too. That's why I want to help you thrive with it too. I thought I was just a nerdy weirdo who cried at books and TV shows and got super invested in fictional characters and loved getting lost in a good fantasy novel. I thought I was alone except for a few people until I became a magnet for other HSPs. And that's when I realized that there's not only a place for all of us, but the world needs more highly sensitive people to use our voices and to thrive. We need more people like you and me who can empathize and understand people easily, who can pull ideas together in new ways, and who care deeply about the world and making it a better place than we found it. There is a lot of divisiveness and there are a lot of things going on our planet right now, and it could really benefit from someone who is paying careful attention and putting our full energy and our intuition and our senses into it the way that we highly sensitive people do. The world needs highly sensitive people to share our gifts now more than ever. So if you felt like me, like you were alone, you didn't really fit into any groups, and you felt like you were on the outskirts, you are part of this club now. You are welcome in the highly sensitive club, and you are definitely not alone. First things first, being a highly sensitive person means that your mind and your body are more sensitive to the world around you. That's it. Simple as that. High sensitivity is a trait, not a condition. And most importantly, having high sensitivity is simply a different way of experiencing the world. It's something that you can determine for yourself, and it doesn't mean that anything is wrong with you. It's just another way for you to process the way that you see the world so that you can live a better life. About 20% of the population has this trait. I did a quick Google search, which turned up the current world population at 7.888 billion people as of January 2024. So if 20% of that 7.888 billion is highly sensitive, that means that there are 1.6 billion highly sensitive people on the planet. They've even found that high sensitivity is present in a number of species besides humans. So your pet, such as your dog or your cat, might be highly sensitive too. It is equally as likely for men and women to have the trait. It's 50-50. And about 70% of HSPs are introverted, while 30% are extroverted. Dr. Elaine Aron is the psychologist who named the trait in the late 1990s, and she was working with patients and noticing certain patterns and similarities, including in her own life when she was working with a therapist. She has written a number of books, and she's kind of the godmother of high sensitivity. Now that we've gotten some of the stats out of the way, let's talk about the acronym that Dr. Aron coined to describe common highly sensitive person qualities. That acronym is DOES. D is for depth of processing. That means that your internal world is probably very vibrant and very dynamic. We take in way more information, both from the world around us and in our heads as well. We like to dig deep. A lot of highly sensitive people don't really like small talk. We would much rather connect with someone on a deeper level. Because we're processing so many things, we are really good at taking information from different areas and putting it together to create something new for us and for others. The only trait in this acronym that could be construed as negative is overstimulation. When we take in so much information from the world around us, our batteries drain faster, and we need a lot more rest and recovery time than other people do. The amount of energy that we put into things tends to be at a very high level as well. That makes us susceptible to burnout, to getting stressed, to feeling overwhelmed and exhausted. If you're overstimulated, it could be because of our own mindset and the thoughts that we're habitually practicing, or it could be stress from the outside world and taking in too many sensory pieces of information. E stands for emotionality or empathy. Highly sensitive people have more mirror neurons in their brains. Mirror neurons pick up on body language and tonal cues and all the extra details, especially in people's facial expressions, that tell you how they're feeling on a deeper level than just their words. Highly sensitive people literally have more than other people. It's easier for us to pick up those subtleties and to see when someone might be upset, even when they say they're totally fine. A lot of us are really good at telling when someone's upset or not telling the whole story, but that doesn't necessarily mean that we all know accurately what the other person is thinking or feeling. When this is dysfunctional, highly sensitive people tend to want to smooth things over for others. We want to make sure that everybody around us is feeling good because it can be so disruptive for us, for other people to be upset or angry or sad. It's okay for others to feel exactly how they're feeling, and you can continue to feel however you were feeling inside. Having your own sense of internal boundaries helps you create a little shield so you're not picking up other people's stray emotions or their feelings or energy and taking it with you throughout the day. S is sensitivity to subtleties. This means that highly sensitive people live their lives in the details and the nuance, seeing all those gray areas in between and how lots of different factors are playing into things. Our five senses are heightened. The majority of people are visual learners, and I like to think of it like full screen versus widescreen. Where the average person is seeing full screen and they're very focused on what's in front of them, a highly sensitive person is seeing in widescreen, and we're always picking up this extra information and all these extra cues. In today's episode, I'm going to dispel 3 of the biggest myths about being a highly sensitive person or an HSP. Myth number 1 is that high sensitivity is a problem. People think highly sensitive people have something bad going on, that there's something wrong with them, that they have symptoms and problems that require treatment. I hope that in future we get to see top HSP searches include things like highly sensitive person gifts or highly sensitive person strengths, or even more neutral terms like highly sensitive person traits. Myth number 2, high sensitivity is a mental health condition. This is a myth. High sensitivity is not a mental health condition, and it doesn't require diagnosis or treatment. If you're being treated for a mental health condition or disorder, which is wonderful if you are, please do that. Mental health is really important. Those treatments are for other issues, such as chronic anxiety or chronic depression, for example. In other words, your problems are not caused by being highly sensitive. Even if you didn't know how to handle your sensitivity when building coping skills, you can learn more healthy coping skills instead. You can have high sensitivity and another condition though. So even though high sensitivity is not a cause for concern, it's not a cause of issues, sometimes it does overlap with other conditions. Someone can, for instance, be on the autism spectrum and have high sensitivity, but high sensitivity is not a spectrum disorder. It would be more like a Venn diagram where they might overlap, but they're not the same thing. A lot of people ask me, so is high sensitivity an autism thing? It's not. I have high sensitivity as a trait. I don't have any other neurodivergent conditions, and a lot of other people are just like me. We have high sensitivity. Our bodies and our brains function a little bit differently, but that doesn't mean that we need any kind of treatment or mental health. I also know a number of highly sensitive people who also have ADHD or attention deficit hyperactivity disorder. You can have both, or you can have just high sensitivity and just an ADHD diagnosis, and they're totally separate things. Myth number 3 is that high sensitivity means you get easily offended or easily hurt. This is a little bit more abstract, and I want to debunk this myth that being sensitive or having high sensitivity means that you get upset or you get offended super easily when someone disagrees with you or says something that's offensive or hurtful. One of my favorite phrases is, what someone says is about them, what you hear is about you. The meaning that you make out of what someone says is really about what's going on in your head and heart. What they said has everything to do with them. It really has nothing to do with you. The idea that just because you're highly sensitive means you have to be hurt easily, or you have to be offended easily, or that you take things personally more than the average person, it's just not true. It has nothing to do with the trait. You can get easily offended and hurt whether you're highly sensitive or not, and that's totally separate from having the trait. As a bonus, I would also like to share with you one additional myth. And the myth is that you can become a highly sensitive person. This is a myth because high sensitivity is a genetic trait. They've actually found 9 genetic markers that are different in highly sensitive people than an average person. This means you can't suddenly become more sensitive in the neurological or nervous system sense. You can become more thoughtful or more emotionally sensitive to something based on your experiences. The idea of sensitivity as an idea that you are thoughtful and conscientious and that you feel things deeply is different than being a highly sensitive person who thinks and feels deeply and also takes in more sensations physically and more information from the external world than the average person. So it is possible that you are sensitive to certain topics or you are sensitive to certain behaviors, but you can't become a highly sensitive person who processes things differently. That's just a part of who you are. I hope that that dispelled any worries or anxieties or concerns that you have about this trait. The trait itself is neutral, and you can thrive with it as well. In this episode, I'm going to give you the skinny on life purpose and how that can change your life as a highly sensitive person, aka HSP. My goal is to make life purpose and these related ideas super simple and clear, so it's way less intimidating and way more approachable for you to use in your everyday life. As highly sensitive people, knowing our life purpose can reduce our stress and our overwhelm. It can save our precious energy making decisions, and it can keep us connected to every area of our lives. Your life purpose is the way that you are showing up in the world. How you act, your thoughts and your beliefs, and your values and your attitudes that you're bringing to each moment. It's the path you choose to get you from where you are to where you want to go. Your life purpose is flexible, it's personalized, and it's meaningful. As HSPs, we need all three of these things: flexibility, personalization, and meaning. We thrive when we can plan our time around our energy levels as well as our commitments. It's not just about the external world, it's about what's going on inside as well. We connect and we recharge when something is specifically tailored for our perspective and the way that we process so many aspects of situations and our internal states together. Meaning is like oxygen for us. We think so deeply and we feel so intensely that without meaning, things feel flat and lifeless. Having a lack of meaning is not a sustainable state for a highly sensitive person. Instead of it being static and specifically tied to a result, your life purpose is about you and how you're being in the world, which grows and evolves as you do. Now, let's talk about a few other concepts that people commonly confuse or they bring into life purpose that are different and distinct. The Oxford English Dictionary defines a job as a paid position of regular employment, a post, a situation, an occupation, a profession. In other words, your job is the thing you do to make money. Your job might be a part of your life purpose, and maybe you love your job. I definitely love mine. Or it might be something that is helping you bring in a paycheck so that you can achieve your purpose in other ways and in other areas of your life. The second thing I want to talk about is a calling. A lot of people think of your life purpose as your calling. It's this grand thing that gives you a reason to be alive. A vocation or a calling is a strong conviction that it is your destiny or your duty to follow a particular profession, way of life, or course of action. In other words, it's something you feel a strong pull to, something you feel you are meant to do, even if it's challenging or difficult. A calling is often something that requires commitment, it requires stamina, and it requires a lot of curiosity and willingness to grow. It's something you pursue over time and may include plenty of stops and starts, lots of experimenting, and lots of learning from your mistakes. People think you can only have one calling, but I disagree. I think we have lots of callings throughout our lives if we're willing to listen to them. You might have a calling to a certain kind of relationship, for instance. Maybe that's a romantic relationship. Maybe it's a friendship, or maybe it's changing a family dynamic or creating a family. It could be a calling to do a kind of work like painting or writing or speaking or some other service to others, or to make a product. It might also be a calling to accomplish a task, such as write a book or travel to a specific destination or form a foundation or charity. You have already answered a number of callings in your life already, and you likely still have callings that are speaking to you now, no matter how young or old you are. Your calling in this season of your life is your North Star, and your life purpose is the way you get there in the most authentic, genuine way that only you can do. I say season in this instance, not necessarily to mean a length of time season, as in, the 4 seasons of the year, but this could be a month or it could be a year or a few years. It's a period of your life where you're in the middle of something. And callings can change depending on the season and the context of your life. The third thing to keep in mind is goals. People often mistake life purpose for a final goal or some big outcome they want to achieve in their life. At the end of it, they can look back at the big thing they've accomplished and feel so proud and complete. However, an aim or outcome is your goal. It's something that a person, a group, or an organization works towards or strives to achieve. It's the object of a person's ambition or their effort. Your goal is the specific result or outcome you want to create, and your purpose is how you want to pursue it. The goal is the scene in your head. It's the climactic moment in the movie when you know you've done it. It's the snapshot that says, you have achieved a thing. Calling is more like the movie Montage, where you see the hero cleaning up their space and they're going for runs and generally getting their act together in a clear shift from where we saw them at the start. That's how you know it's a calling. It's that montage, that series of events that you do. And the goal is the climactic scene when they get it. And the fourth thing is passion. A passion is an intense desire or enthusiasm for something. It's the zealous pursuit of an aim. Intensity is the key word here. There are tons of ways to use the word passion, but in relation to your life purpose, I think people tend to conflate the two and use them synonymously, as though your life purpose is the thing that sparks your passion, or you have to have passion, or it's not a life purpose. Without passion, without intense emotion, it's not real. It doesn't count. I disagree. Passion, intense emotion, whether positive or negative, it'll come and go. But your life purpose is steady, in addition to flexible, personal, and meaningful. Passions can align with callings and goals, but passion ebbs and flows. And it tends to have a lot of energy and intensity earlier on and then fades over time. You can approach both callings and goals with passion, but the calling and goal will still be there even when the passion fades. Passion and life purpose can be present together, or you can just have one or the other. Your life purpose, when you bring it to each of these aspects of your life, makes everything feel more fulfilling, more meaningful, and more aligned with who you are. It can be a part of all of these other things and of your daily life. And the amount that you live your life purpose in your calling, your goals, your job, and how much passion determines how authentic you feel and how satisfied you are with your life. In today's episode, I want to talk to you about the secret weapon that can help you become less stressed, less overwhelmed, have less empathy fatigue, less burnout, and instead you get to feel energized, connected, confident, and motivated. Your mind is that secret weapon that you have. It's one that we all have, but for highly sensitive people like us, it can have an even greater ability to help us in our lives. Highly sensitive minds are powerful processors. If you can use that powerful mind to your advantage, amazing things start to happen. You know exactly what your goals and dreams are and how to reach them. Your relationships improve because you have more bandwidth to be present and calm and focused. You're not constantly distracted by all the other things you should be doing. You also make and save more money, and you spend your money in more intentional ways. You'd feel better because you're not running on an empty tank and living in a chronic state of stress. You stop taking responsibility for other people's stuff and you fully own your own life. You get so much more energy, more time, and more of what you want when you use your highly sensitive mind to your advantage. Here's what happens when you don't manage your mind. You live on cruise control. You feel constantly stressed, overwhelmed, stuck, and tired. You get pulled in a million different directions and you feel like you haven't made any real progress at the end of the day. As you start to manage your thoughts and your mind, then you can start taking things to the next level and you catch yourself before you get into bad habits. The first idea you need to know is we can't control what goes on in the world around us or the people around us, but we can control our perception of those situations. Whether you embrace and work with your sensitivity or struggle against it and deny it's even a thing, both of those results come from your mind. You can choose which one you create for yourself. You can change and become anything that you would like. It is possible for you. On the other hand, it might feel new to take responsibility for the things in your life that are not going the way that you want them to. Our prefrontal cortex is the part of your brain that helps you make decisions and it helps you follow through and think about things further into the future. It's the part of you that can watch your thoughts and observe them, which if you have been through a yoga class or a meditation class, you're familiar with. This is the part of you that can observe your thoughts. Our primitive brain, on the other hand, is in the amygdala. This part of our brain is extremely powerful and it's a lot older than our prefrontal cortex. It wants to survive, and that means that it wants you to stay safe and comfortable and never go outside. That part of your brain is important because we need to survive. Both parts of the brain are important because when you let them work together, that's when the magic happens. When you let your primitive part of your brain call all the shots, you're missing out on the opportunity to use your greatest asset as a highly sensitive person, your mind. If your brain can learn these old unhelpful habits, it can learn new habits that serve you better. Think of this like someone who goes to the gym regularly. You exercise your brain the same way. If you're used to constantly using up all of your energy, you exercise using up all my energy and feeling exhausted day. If you soak up other people's emotions and have trouble letting them go, you're practicing getting caught up in other people's drama day. You've taught your brain to do these habits by regularly practicing them. You might instead have balance my obligations to others while taking care of myself day. Maybe you start trying loving other people without feeling their emotions for them day. Same effort in your brain, but a much more productive use of your energy that you consciously choose. Here's our next big idea. Every result that you have in your life comes from your thoughts. The things you can't control in your life are situations. And your thoughts about the situation cause your feelings, which then create your actions or inactions, which then create the results that you have in your life. This is how cognitive behavioral therapy works. If you want something to change in your life, you choose new thoughts consciously. Then you practice those new thoughts, just like learning a new language or trying a different app for the first time. As you continue to practice that new thought, you let go of old thoughts that don't help you anymore. Your conscious mind in the prefrontal cortex keeps practicing the new thoughts until your primitive brain gets the message and can take over and turn those new thoughts into your habits. That's how your conscious mind and your primitive mind can be a powerhouse together. You can create intentional thoughts now that serve you every single day into the future and become your new habit. We think we're at the whim of external circumstances and fate controls us. The world controls us and we don't have any say in it. That's not true. You can choose your thoughts and you can choose how you perceive a situation. This doesn't mean toxic positivity, but it does mean that you can start to think more neutral and maybe even more positive thoughts over time that help you get where you want to go instead of staying on cruise control. Would you rather phone in your life and look back knowing that you could have used your high sensitivity to your advantage? Or would you rather start making a conscious effort now to choose which thoughts would actually help you get what you want in your life? You can start building new habits that will get you exactly what you want in your life right now. I love this beautiful adage. The best time to plant a tree was 20 years ago. The second best time is today. It's never too late to create more intentions for yourself because you'll still be able to get those benefits in the future. You have control over your thoughts, and I can't wait to see what new ideas and insights this opens up for you. See you on the next episode.
Thanks for listening. If you're ready to take what you learned today to the next level, head over to StephanieLinn, that's LINN.com, and book a consultation call to get started. I can't wait to see you there, my dear HSP.